Don't just live your life, make room in your life for what God's doing. Let me say it again. Don't just live your life, make room in your life for what God's doing. As I consider this thought, I would like to remind you of a passage in Scripture where Mary and Joseph are headed back to Bethlehem for a census. So it's a government gathering everybody back to their home cities so they can count the people. And it just so happens that Mary is almost about to have a baby when she gets there. And so the question is, what went down in that transaction? They come to the inn. And remember, inns were probably pretty full because everybody was coming back for the census and things like that. However, this one inn they come to and it says, "Oh, it's full." When I was in Israel, the guide said, that might have been a business decision. Now, there's some things to be aware of. In the Old Testament, if a woman gives birth, she's unclean and can't go to the temple for 7 days if she had a baby boy. If she had a baby girl, she's unclean for 2 weeks. Now, there were different practices at the time of how long the space where they had the baby was considered unclean too. So it could have been that that innkeeper was making a business decision, realizing that when you have baby, you can picture an inn at those days. When you have a baby, a home birth or an in birth, it could be loud, it could be messy, so it might interfere with other clients or customers, and it could be that they can't re-rent the room for a while. So it could be that this was a legit biz decision by the innkeeper, but he was missing something. Now, I wasn't without compassion. So he did a semi-compassionate thing and said, well, we don't have room here, but we got this cave over on the side. You could have the baby in there with the animals. It would work for you. We'll give it our best shot. So he's not just being cold or crass, but he might be making a business decision. Now, the interesting thing is, if this is true, if what I'm submitting to you is true, and I'm not sure that it is, but I think it's worth considering. This innkeeper missed missed a discernment opportunity to worship God. He missed because he's just looking at the surface. Sound business decision, but not looking under the surface for what God might be doing. He didn't do what we see David doing a lot in the Old Testament. He didn't inquire of the Lord. And I want to encourage you, this is a problem in our day. We're being overwhelmed with information and opportunities and things like that. And I want to say what we need to do is take time to peel below the surface and to discern with God as to what might be going on. And we inquire of God. Could be that you write down the pros and cons and you're praying about it, but you're dialoguing with God, you're receiving any impression, you're seeing how it resonates in your being, you're inquiring with God and of God because you want to be able to discern what He's doing. This is important because God usually uses new things to do the new things he's going to do usually come through unlikely means. The new things that he's going to do usually come in through unlikely means. So that means we have to move past the surface, under the surface. I mean, past the surface and dig deeper with him. And so we want to inquire of him. Now, God used it anyway. God's sovereign. He's holding stars, universes, nations, time, love, power, meaning, all those things God's overseeing. So you're not going to overwhelm God by what you do, but if you discern, you can cooperate with God rather than him doing it without you. Remember, God was with Mary, Joseph, and Jesus, but the innkeeper missed it. He missed that this was actually, even though they made the wrong decision, this was a fulfillment of hundreds of years of prophetic words of where Jesus would be born and what it would be like. And so God is moving through all our frailty, all our mistakes, but we still want to press in and understand what he wants so that we can cooperate with him. So don't live a rushed lifestyle. A rush lifestyle often misses what God is doing. This takes discipline to not live that way. Instead, develop a rhythm of reflection, a rhythm of noticing, and a rhythm of prayer. Live a life where you're going to reflect over what happened yesterday or what happened this morning. Take time to reflect with God so that you can get discernment of it. So you want to reflect, but you also want to notice what's around you. You can't do that when you're rushing. Notice what's around you and pray, inquire and say, Lord, I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking about this. Help me to discern well. When we inquire of the Lord, when we learn to about everything, really you dialogue with God about everything, but particularly the significant things, take time on the significant ones to get his heart, his mind, his direction, whether that's about investment or a job decision or a dating or marriage or where to move. The big ones you want to intentionally take time. Take time, not just, I need a religious answer right now. No, take time to present your best understanding to God, receive insight, discern it with God intentionally. However, again, don't freak out as if it's all on your shoulders and that God really needs you, and without you making the right decision, nothing will work. He's God. He's God. However, you do want to look for where you're going to cooperate with him in the kingdom. So, takeaways for the end of this year, beginning of next year, as you're considering the next things, develop a reflective rhythm lifestyle. Not only a reflective rhythm lifestyle, let's do it for the next year. Let's consider what the next year might be bringing, reflect with God in it, and make sure that you say, I want to worship you. Where do you see God at work around you? It could be in relation to yesterday. It could be in relation to today, or it could be in relation to what you're perceiving in the future. Where do you see God? What is your co-op move? What is your cooperation move with God? See, that's where life really goes down. We want to agree with God and say, I want to cooperate with you. That lifestyle is a lifestyle of worship. It's a lifestyle that we will actually continue to grow and mature in as we practice, and it will also release the power of God on earth. So don't just live your life. Make room for God in your life. Discern it and look to see where you can cooperate with God. Hopefully that's helpful for you. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.